Hey everyone! Today I've got 5 of the most disturbing Reddit stories I could find. You know what to do. Like, sub, and let's go. I, a 30-year-old man, just realized the neighbor who feeds us in our basement apartment might be the same thing that fed me over a fence when I was 5. Something had been waiting for him to remember. So I need to get this down before I talk myself out of it. My name is Ethan, I am 30 years old, and I work as an archivist at the county records office. Quiet job, quiet life. I share a basement studio apartment with my younger sister Hannah. It is not glamorous. Half windows at sidewalk level, dim even at noon, and a long, narrow hallway we share with a stairwell that leads up to the only other unit in the building. That unit belongs to our upstairs neighbor, Brandon. Brandon is older, gaunt, keeps to himself. I have maybe spoken to him 4 times in the year and a half we have lived here, but almost every night, without fail, he leaves a container of homemade food outside our door. Always warm, always hearty. Stews, roasts, thick soups, and always portioned for one person, which is strange because he knows 2 of us live down here. Hannah and I figured he was just being generous in an awkward loner sort of way. Who questions free food when rent already eats your whole paycheck? But last Thursday night changed things. I heard the container being set down and opened the door fast enough to catch Brandon heading back up the stairs. He did not turn around. I watched his shadow stretch across the hallway ceiling under the fluorescent light, and my whole body went cold. His silhouette was wrong. The arms in that shadow hung past where his knees should have been, and his head. The ceiling in that hallway is 9 feet high. His shadow nearly touched it. I stood there, not breathing, watching this shape fold itself around the corner at the top of the stairs, and something cracked open in my memory like a door I had locked 25 years ago. I was 5. We lived in a different house, one with a backyard closed in by a 10-foot wooden privacy fence. I used to play out there alone, and something, used to reach over that fence and hand me food. A long, pale arm. No ladder sound, no face, just the arm, extending over 10 feet of solid wood like it was nothing. I never told my parents. It felt normal the way impossible things feel normal when you are 5. I just ate what it gave me. Standing in that hallway last Thursday, staring at the place where Brandon's shadow had been, I understood. The shape was the same. The arm was the same. 25 years apart, and whatever had been feeding me over that fence had found me again. Or maybe it never lost me at all, and he had been eating every bite. The memory did not come back all at once. I have spent the last few days trying to reconstruct what I actually remember from being 5. Hannah would have been a toddler then, barely 2, so she has no memory of that house at all. But I do. We lived with our parents in a place with a big backyard, and the whole thing was enclosed by this massive wooden privacy fence, 10 feet tall, solid planks, no gaps. I used to play out there alone most afternoons, and the hand would come over the top. Enormous, pale, with fingers that seemed too long, like each knuckle had an extra joint. It would appear holding a container, a dish, a bowl, something warm, and just wait there at the top of the fence until I walked over and took it. Then it would withdraw. No sound of a ladder being placed or removed. No voice, no face. Just that arm rising above 10 feet of solid wood and then folding back down. It happened maybe a dozen times across that summer. I ate every bit of it. I thought it was a neighbor being nice, and at 5 years old, that was enough of an explanation. Now I am 30, and I understand what a 10-foot fence actually means. You do not just reach over that. Not unless you are standing on something, and I never heard anything. Or, not unless you are tall enough that 10 feet is just where your arm happens to be. Back in the present, I started watching Brandon more carefully. I have never seen him eat, not once. I have never seen him leave the building during daylight hours. I mentioned it to my coworker Tyler at the archive, kept it light, said my neighbor was a little odd. Tyler laughed and said maybe the guy was a vampire. I laughed too. That night, I lay awake until almost 3 in the morning. Around 1:30, I heard the soft click of the container being placed outside the door. Hannah was asleep. I crept to the peephole and looked out. I could see Brandon's hand setting down the dish, his fingers pale and deliberate, but his body was not in frame. The peephole has a wide-angle lens. I should have been able to see him standing right there. Instead, it was just the arm, extending from somewhere far down the hallway, reaching our door from a distance that made no sense. I am going to pull the property records on this building tomorrow at work. I need to know what I am living under. He had the keys to the county archive. The answers were already waiting. The records told him more than he wanted to know. I pulled the property file on our building at work the next morning. It is not owned by a person. The building is held by a land trust with a name in Old German that I could not immediately translate. I wrote it down and moved on to the rest of the filing. The trust does not just hold our building, it holds other properties too. I found a partial list before the records hit a wall that requires a deeper county request to get passed. I filed the request, but it will take days. That night, I tried to bring up Brandon's food with Hannah. I kept it casual, asked if she had tried the stew from the other night. She gave me this puzzled look and said she had never eaten any of it, not once. She said she always assumed I finished it before she got to it. Every single container, every meal for months, it had all gone into me. Just me. I sat with that for a while. After Hannah went to bed, I started listening to the unit above us. No television, no music, no plumbing sounds. Just footsteps, slow, heavy, spaced too far apart. Each one landed like something much larger than a man taking a very deliberate stride across the floor. The next day at work, I told Tyler everything, not casually this time. He went quiet, then said I should just go knock on Brandon's door and have a real conversation. He said I was scaring myself with my own imagination. So that evening, I stood in the hallway outside Brandon's unit. I raised my fist to knock, and I heard breathing on the other side of the door. Wet, slow, patient. It was coming from low, not standing height, close to the floor, as if something on the other side was crouched against the wood, its mouth inches from where my knuckles hovered. I lowered my hand and walked back downstairs without making a sound. Archivist. OP pulling property records to solve his own haunting is genuinely the most on-brand thing I have read on here. Old growth forest. On his knees. On his knees! That means standing upright, he would not fit in a full floor of an apartment building. How tall is this thing? Quiet horror fan. The fact that he has been in that building since before it was built is the part I cannot stop thinking about. What was there before the building? Was he just standing in an empty lot waiting? I pulled the lot history. Before the building, there was a single-family home on that parcel, demolished in '84. The trust owned that house too. Before that, going back to 1903, the lot was registered as agricultural land under what I think is the same trust with a slightly different spelling. I do not know what he was doing on that land for 80 years before anyone built walls around him. I am not sure I want to know. Every meal, every container, all for him alone. Then Ethan posted an update. We left, but I found 7 more buildings just like ours. I got the deeper records back. The land trust name, I had a colleague in the linguistics department at the university translate it. Old German. It means the one who tends. The one who tends. Like a garden, like livestock. I kept digging. The trust does not just hold our building. It holds the house I grew up in, the one with the 10-foot privacy fence. Same entity, same name, same registration number, threading back through decades of county paperwork. Whatever reached over that fence when I was 5 years old did not lose track of me. It put me here. Then I pulled Brandon's tenancy records. He has been listed as the occupant of the upstairs unit since 1971. The building was not constructed until 1986. He was a registered tenant 15 years before the walls around him existed. I do not know how to make sense of that. But here is the part that broke something in me. The deeper records request came back with the full trust portfolio. 7 other properties across 3 states. Every single one has the same layout. a building with a basement unit. Every single one has a long-term male tenant in the upper unit whose occupancy predates construction. 8 buildings, 8 basement units, 8 of whatever Brandon is, sitting upstairs, cooking food, leaving it at a door. This is not a haunting. This is not some restless spirit trapped in one location. This is a system. Something has been selecting people, feeding them from childhood, guiding them into basements it controls, and tending them like a crop. I have been eating its food for 25 years across 2 locations, and I never once questioned it. Hannah and I left that night. We are at a motel. I have not slept. I keep thinking about the 7 others in their basement apartments, eating what their Brandons bring them, not knowing what I know now. That's it. The meat with no smell. I physically recoiled. That line is going to live in my head rent-free. Nope, 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 okay. You were always my favorite implies there are others who were not the favorite. What happened to them? That's it. OP said 7 other properties with the same setup. 7 basement units. If each one has someone being fed and this thing has favorites, that means it is ranking them. Ranking them for what? 8 basements, 8 tenders, 1 system. The last container was already waiting. I came back from the archive that evening and the container was at the door, still warm. I opened it and froze. It was not stew. It was not soup. It was a single cut of dark, dense meat sitting in the center of the dish. No smell at all. Nothing. Meat should smell like something. Taped to the underside of the lid was a note in block letters, handwritten on a torn piece of brown paper. It read, "You were always my favorite." I stood in the hallway holding that container and my hands would not stop shaking. I brought it inside and showed Hannah. She looked at the note, looked at me, and walked straight to the closet for her bag. She did not ask questions, she did not argue, she just started packing. We were out of that apartment within the hour. Clothes, documents, nothing else. As I pulled the car out of the lot, I looked up at the street-level window directly above our old unit. Brandon's window. He was there. He was not standing. He was on his knees. Even on his knees, his head and shoulders filled the entire window frame. The glass was dark, but I could see the shape of him, and the proportions were exactly what I had seen in the hallway shadow, what I had seen reaching over a 10-foot fence 25 years ago. He was watching us leave. I did not look back again. I have sent everything, the property records, the trust name, the tenancy dates, all of it, to Tyler and to a journalist he knows. I do not know what happens to the people in the other 7 buildings. I do not know what the meat was. I do not want to know. I just know that something tended me like a patient gardener for 25 years, and I finally walked out of the garden. Sleepless in PDX. Hannah not eating the food for months and never mentioning it is so realistic, actually. My roommate and I have entirely separate food routines, and I would not notice either. Sometimes the scariest thing is not what chases you, but what feeds you. And now, on to the next one. I, 36-year-old female, work as an accountant in IT. Just told me someone has been logging into my work account every night at 3 a.m. from Romania. Posted 3 days ago in r/off my chest by Haley Numbers Don't Lie. I have worked at the same regional insurance company for 4 years. Small town, small office, the kind of place where everybody knows your car in the parking lot. I am 36, I am an accountant, and until Monday morning my biggest complaint was that the break room coffee tastes like it was brewed sometime last decade. I live with my partner Megan. Most mornings I kiss her goodbye, drive 12 minutes to work, and sit down at my desk 3 spots away from my friend Olivia. We eat lunch together, swap complaints, keep each other sane. That is my life. Ordinary. Then Monday happened. Our IT manager asked me to step into the small conference room. Just me. He closed the door, turned his laptop around, and showed me a spreadsheet of login records tied to my credentials. Every single night for the past 5 months, someone has been signing into our payroll system and employee records at 3 in the morning using my username and password. Every session routed through an IP address in Bucharest, Romania. I have never been to Romania. At 3 a.m., I am asleep next to Megan. I told him that, and he just nodded like he already knew. Then he scrolled down, and that is when my chest went tight. Whoever is using my account has not just been browsing. They have been exporting full employee files, home addresses, social security numbers, bank account details, emergency contacts. The volume of data pulled covers almost the entire company roster, hundreds of people. I sat there staring at that screen, and it hit me all at once. Someone has been harvesting my coworkers' entire lives through my name for 5 months, and I had absolutely no idea. Hundreds of files, 5 months, and every single one stamped with her name. The company told her not to talk about it. She lasted 1 day. IT reset my password that same afternoon and enabled two-factor authentication on everything. The IT manager told me not to discuss this with anyone while they looked into it. I nodded, walked to my car after work, and drove the 12 minutes home in complete silence. Megan knew something was wrong the second I came through the door. I sat on the couch and told her everything, and halfway through, I just lost it. She held me for a while, and then she asked the question I had been trying not to think about. Could they blame you for this? And the answer is yes. Every single export has my name on it, my credentials, my login, my access level. If the company decides they need someone to answer for hundreds of stolen employee files, I am already gift-wrapped. The next morning, I broke the rule. I pulled Olivia aside in the hallway before anyone else got in and told her what happened. She went pale. She grabbed my arm and said I needed to start documenting everything. Every conversation, every email, every date and time. She was so worried for me, it almost made me feel worse. Days went by. IT said nothing. I sent 2 follow-up emails and got back the kind of replies that say a lot of words without actually saying anything. Then HR sent a company-wide email about a routine security audit. No mention of stolen data, no mention of 3 a.m. logins from Romania. Routine. That word made me sick. And then I kept thinking about Chloe. She worked in our department until about 6 months ago. One day she was there, the next she was not. Nobody gave a real explanation. HR said it was a mutual decision. Chloe never said goodbye. I did not push it at the time because it was not my business. But now I am sitting at my desk wondering if it was exactly my business, and I just did not know it yet. Something is wrong here, and this company has no interest in telling me what. The silence from IT was not a delay. It was a decision. Haley started looking for answers the company did not want her to find. I went through my old emails, every single one going back a year. And there it was, a message from Chloe, sent about 7 months ago, 2 weeks before she disappeared from the office. It was short. She said something felt off with her account, that she was seeing login timestamps she did not recognize, and she asked if I had ever noticed anything similar. I read it at the time. I remember reading it, and I did nothing. I thought she was being paranoid or maybe just stressed. I never even replied. That guilt is going to sit with me for a long time. I started asking around carefully, not direct questions, just steering conversations. What I pieced together is that Chloe raised the same concern with IT before she was let go. She flagged unusual access on her account, and within weeks she was gone. Mutual decision is what HR called it. Nobody questioned it. Then last Thursday, HR scheduled a meeting with me. I walked in expecting an update on the investigation. Instead, there were 2 people from HR I had never met, and they had a list of questions. Had I ever shared my password with anyone? Had I accessed company systems from a personal device? Had I discussed the situation with anyone outside the company? It did not feel like support. It felt like a deposition. Every question was designed to find something I did wrong. I drove home that night and told Megan, I think they are building a case against me. The same way they built one against Chloe. Find the person whose name is on the logs, make it their fault, and move on. Megan told me I needed a lawyer. She is probably right. Data breach survivor. 5 months and IT only just noticed? That is not an oversight, that is a policy. They knew and waited until liability forced their hand. Office ghost. Please tell me you documented the USB device before handing it over. Photos, serial numbers, anything. Once it is in their hands, it does not exist anymore. I took 2 photos on my phone before I gave it to IT, one of the device in the port and one of the serial numbers stamped on the side. When I asked for a follow-up a week later, the IT manager told me they had no record of receiving any hardware from me. I still have the photos. I keep them backed up in 3 places now. Insomnia scrolls. The part that gets me is Olivia sitting 3 desks away acting normal. Imagine making small talk every morning with the person siphoning your entire identity through a device you did not even know was there. A few days later, Haley came back with an update. They cleared her, and now she is back at her desk. I found out what happened to Chloe. She reported the exact same thing: strange logins on her account, access she did not authorize. She went to IT with it. 2 weeks later, she was terminated. Mutual decision, that is what they called it. Her report was buried. I only confirmed this because a woman in HR who is retiring next month did not care enough to lie to me anymore. Once I knew that, I started thinking about access. Not digital access, physical access. Who could have sat down at Chloe's workstation and planted something before the suspicious activity on her account began? I pulled the security desk sign-in logs for after-hours access around that time period. One name kept showing up on late evenings right before Chloe's anomalies started. Olivia. My Olivia. 3 desks away Olivia. The one I told everything to. I went back to my own desk and I got on my knees and looked at the back of my docking station. There is a USB port back there that I have never used. Wedged into it, almost flush with the plastic housing, was a small device about the size of my thumbnail. I have never seen it before. I did not put it there. It is a hardware keylogger. Every password I have typed, every system I have logged into, every single keystroke, captured. Olivia told me to document everything. She told me to be careful. She held my arm in the hallway and looked worried for me. And the entire time she was the one who planted the device that made all of this possible. I have been telling the person running the operation exactly what the investigation knew, every step of the way. Throw away CPA life. The Romania IP is almost certainly a VPN exit node. Whoever is doing this is inside your building and just routing through overseas to make it look external. Classic misdirection. Quietly unraveling. The fact that they fired Chloe after she reported the same thing tells you everything about whose side your company is on. It is not yours. HR hellscape. This exactly. I have seen companies restructure entire departments just to bury a complaint. The moment Chloe became a liability, they removed her, not the threat. Haley is next if she pushes too hard without outside legal protection. 3 desks away, every single day. The device made it to IT. What happened after that is what broke her.
I turned the USB device over to the IT manager the same day I found it. I filed a formal written complaint with HR that afternoon. I named Olivia. I included the security desk logs, the after-hours sign-in records, everything. I thought that was the moment things would finally move in the right direction. 1 week later, the IT manager told me the device had been logged into their system, but they could not locate it. Gone. HR called me in and informed me that their internal investigation had concluded and found no evidence of wrongdoing by any current employee. Olivia came back to work the next Monday like nothing had happened. She sat down 3 desks away, opened her laptop, and said good morning to me. I did not answer. I found Chloe's old personal email in a group thread from a holiday party 2 years ago. I sent her a message explaining everything, what I found, what happened to my account, what I now knew had happened to hers. Days of silence. Then one reply, 5 words. They will make you think you imagined it. I still work there. I changed every password I have, but I know it does not matter. The person who put that device on my workstation still sits 3 desks away. Megan wants me to quit. I want to quit. But this is a small town, and there are not many places for a 36-year-old accountant to land. We need the income. So I go in every morning, and I sit at my desk, and I do my job, and I try not to look at Olivia. I do not know what to do next, but I wanted people to know this is how it works. The institution does not protect you. It protects itself. HR hellscape. I work in HR, and this is textbook. They will run a sham investigation, clear whoever is connected, and pressure you to drop it. Start looking for a lawyer now, not after they retaliate. Haley's last update was posted 2 weeks ago. She has not posted since. On to the next one.
I, 27 female, keep getting thanked for attending events I never went to, and I think it's connected to a missing woman from my caseload. Posted 3 days ago by throwaway_ClaireBear91. I need to get this out somewhere because I am starting to feel like I am losing my grip. My name is Claire. I am 27, a social worker, and I live in a small apartment with my mother, Grace. I work mostly with transitional housing programs, helping people find stable ground after shelters, after crisis, after everything else falls apart. It is demanding work. I love it, but it eats my life. I have this terrible habit of RSVPing yes to every professional networking event and community panel that crosses my inbox, and then bailing last minute when a crisis call comes in. It happens so often my colleagues joke that my name on an attendee list is basically a guarantee I will not show. About 4 months ago, a former client of mine named Vanessa went missing from one of the transitional housing programs I oversaw. She was 23, sharp, funny, finally getting steady. And then one day, she was just gone. No note, no forwarding address, no trace. The case has haunted me since. 3 weeks ago, my colleague Paige forwarded me a photo from a missing persons community panel I had skipped. I was 40 miles away on a crisis call that entire night. But in the second row of that photo, there is a woman sitting upright, attentive, wearing my exact winter coat, my agency lanyard, and my work badge. My badge. The one I clip to my bag every morning and lock in my desk drawer every night. I stared at that photo for 10 minutes straight, then walked to my desk and opened the drawer. The badge was gone. I tore through every pocket, every shelf, every bag I own. It is not here. I have no memory of moving it, lending it, or losing it. Someone wore my face into that room, and I need to figure out why. The badge was not misplaced. It was taken. Claire started pulling at the thread. After I found the badge missing, I could not sit still. I spent the next 2 days reaching out to everyone I could think of, colleagues, acquaintances, anyone who had attended events I had RSVP'd to over the past 4 months but never actually shown up to. The responses made me physically ill. A community organizer named Dana told me how articulate I was on a panel about housing insecurity back in February. She said I made a point about funding gaps that got a round of applause. A fellow social worker from a neighboring county said I asked a pointed question at a case review workshop about closure protocols, specifically about how agencies handle files when clients disappear from transitional programs. I was never at either of those events. I was on crisis calls both times. I went back through my calendar and cross-referenced every event I had skipped. 4 of them. 4 events over 4 months where someone showed up wearing my face, my badge, my coat, and apparently speaking with enough confidence that nobody questioned it. Then I laid the 4 events side by side and my stomach dropped. Every single one involved a discussion, a panel, or a case review that mentioned Vanessa, my former client. The 23-year-old who vanished from my transitional housing program without a trace. I told my mother Grace that night at the apartment. She went pale and immediately wanted to call the police. I talked her down because I did not have enough yet. Then I told Paige at work the next morning. She listened, nodded, and said that was really strange. That was it. No shock, no follow-up questions, no "what the hell, Claire?" Just strange. I told myself she was stressed. I have been saving every screenshot, every forwarded email, every thank you message. I have a folder building on my laptop that I have not shown anyone. This is not identity theft. Whoever is doing this is not opening credit cards in my name. They are sitting in rooms where people talk about Vanessa, and they are doing it as me. Every event led back to the same name. Claire kept digging, and the pattern kept getting worse. I went back through every photo I could find from those 4 events. Group shots, candid panel photos, anything posted publicly. I was looking at the woman pretending to be me, trying to find something off about her face or build, when I noticed something else entirely. In 3 of the 4 photos, the same man is visible, not front and center, seated nearby, slightly behind, always within a few chairs of my impersonator. Gray hair, glasses, heavy build. I do not recognize him. I tried to attend the next relevant event myself, a community roundtable on missing persons cases in transitional housing. When I went to register, the system told me I had already confirmed attendance. The confirmation was logged 5 days before the event. I had not touched that platform in weeks. I changed every password I had that night. Email, work calendar, the registration portals, everything. It did not make me feel safer. When I brought all of this to Grace at the apartment, she did not react the way I expected. She went quiet. Not scared quiet, thinking quiet. She said she needed to sit with something for a while and would not tell me what. I asked her 3 times. She just shook her head. At work, Paige has pulled back completely. Short answers, canceled our standing check-in twice in a row, leaves the break room when I walk in. I do not know who to trust anymore. Someone has access to my professional accounts. Someone is wearing my badge in rooms where Vanessa's name comes up, and now the 2 people closest to me are acting like they know something they will not say. I am asking anyone reading this, what would you do? The comments did not hold back. Nocturnal vibes. The badge being missing from your drawer is what got me. That means someone had physical access to your workspace, and that narrows it down a lot. Red thread research. Please tell me you screenshotted every single event registration confirmation. If someone logged into your RSVP accounts, there will be IP logs. I did pull my registration history before I posted this. 3 of the events I was marked as checked in at were ones I canceled the morning of. I never checked in. Someone used my name at the door, and 2 of those registrations were edited after the fact. The original cancellation was overwritten. My supervisor Paige had shared access to that platform. Glitch in the blinds. Claire, do not go back to that apartment. If they know where you live well enough to leave a note, they have been watching that entrance for weeks. Then Claire posted the update. Someone left a note on my door and now we're being followed. I read every single comment on my last post, and one of you told me to check whether the man in the photos matched anyone from Vanessa's old housing file, specifically a landlord. I pulled the file that night. His name was right there. He was Vanessa's former landlord at the unit she lived in before she entered our transitional program. Police questioned him briefly when she disappeared and cleared him. I was staring at his photo on my laptop when Grace walked into the room, looked at the screen, and said, "I know that man." I had not shown her anything yet. She told me that about 2 months ago he came to our apartment building and asked for me by name. Grace told him I was not home. He thanked her and left. She said she remembered his face because something about the way he smiled made her lock the deadbolt after he walked away. I confronted Paige at work the next morning. I did not ease into it. I sat down across from her and told her everything. The photos, the man, Grace recognizing him. Paige started crying. Not because she was the one impersonating me, because she already knew Vanessa did not leave that program on her own. Someone inside our agency had pressured Paige weeks ago to close Vanessa's case file quietly and stop asking questions. Paige would not tell me who. She said the person attending events as me was gathering intelligence, sitting in those rooms to track who still talks about Vanessa and what they know. And now that I have been openly digging, Paige believes they know I am looking. She grabbed my arm and said, "Please stop asking about this at work." She was shaking. User deleted. Sorry, I work in social services too. The pressure to close cases quietly is real, and it makes my stomach turn reading this. Pale Moth Hotel. Has anyone else noticed that every event was specifically about missing persons or housing safety? Whoever is doing this is monitoring what the public knows about Vanessa. Insomnia Olive. That is exactly what I was thinking. This is not about stealing Claire's identity for personal gain. Someone is using her face as a seat filler to sit close to the people still asking about Vanessa and figure out how much the community actually knows. It is intelligence gathering disguised as attendance. Claire's final post came hours later. I am typing this from the passenger seat of my mother's car in a grocery store parking lot. Paige will not answer her phone. I have called 6 times. We got back to the apartment around 7 tonight, and there was a sticky note on our front door, handwritten block letters. It said, "You attended the panel on Friday. You asked no questions. Remember that." I did not attend any panel on Friday. I was home with Grace the entire evening. But whoever wrote that note wanted me to know that someone went as me again, and that they know exactly where I live. Grace saw the note before I could pull it off the door. She did not say a word. She walked inside, grabbed her purse and her coat, and told me we were leaving. I packed a bag in under 3 minutes. I have my laptop with the folder of screenshots, Vanessa's case file, and the photos of the man, her former landlord, sitting near my impersonator at every event. We are driving to a detective I trust from a case 2 years ago. He is outside my agency entirely. I will not go through internal channels because after what Paige told me about being pressured to close Vanessa's file, I do not know how far up this goes. I am going to hand him everything I have and pray he takes it seriously. Grace is in the passenger seat watching the side mirror. She has been quiet for most of the drive. I will update as soon as I can. I need you all to know that if this post gets deleted or my account goes dark, everything I have described is real and it is documented. I just want Vanessa found. I just want to know what happened to her. Grace just said something. She said the same car has been behind us since we left the apartment. It is a dark sedan, and it has matched every turn we have made for the last... Insomnia Olive. The fact that this person wears your coat and sits near the same man every time means this is coordinated. This is not some random identity theft. Claire never posted again, but on to the next one. I, 33 male, figured out why the same man exits the subway at my exact second every morning, and I really wish I hadn't. Posted to r/offmychest 3 days ago by Nolan Cantuncy. I do not know who else to tell this to, so I am putting it here. I am 33, I work as a web developer, I live alone in a condo, and I have been riding the same subway line to work for 2 years. Headphones in, same platform, same spot, same nothing every morning. 3 months ago, I started noticing something. There is a man, mid to late 30s, average build, dark coat, who exits the train at my stop the precise second I stand up. Every single morning. Not roughly the same time, the exact second. I tested it. I switched cars. He adjusted. I boarded at the front. He was 3 doors down, stepping off the instant my feet hit the platform. I boarded at the rear. Same thing. One morning, I stayed seated past my stop just to see what would happen. He did not exit. He rode to the next station and got off when I did. I started watching him on purpose after that. The first morning I really looked at him, deliberately, carefully. I saw him do something that knocked the air out of me. He was standing by the doors waiting for them to open, and he was rubbing his thumb across his own knuckles in a slow circle, over and over. My mother used to talk about my father doing that. She said it was one of the things she loved most about him, this absent little habit he had when he was thinking. My father died in a highway accident in 1997, closed casket. I was 4. I have done the exact same thing my entire life. Thumb across the knuckles, slow circle, and I never thought about where it came from. I looked down at my own hands on that train. I was doing it right then. A dead man's habit, alive on a stranger's hands. He spent 4 days trying to convince himself it meant nothing. I told Logan about the man on the subway. I kept it simple. There's a guy who gets off at my stop every morning, and it feels deliberate. Logan said what any sane person would say. He told me to switch routes, take the bus, report it if it keeps happening. I nodded and said, yeah, probably. But I did not switch. I could not explain it then, and I still cannot explain it properly now. There was something in the stranger's face that felt like staring at a photograph you have seen 100 times, but cannot remember where. Not recognition exactly. More like the edge of recognition, the shape of it without the details filled in. On the 5th morning, I got off the train and stepped directly into his path. I did not say anything. I just stood there. He did not flinch. He did not look confused or caught. He looked relieved, like he had been holding his breath for months and I had finally let him exhale. He spoke first. He said my full legal name, first, middle, last, without a pause. I have never met this man. He said his name was Derek. He said we share a father. He said our father has been dead since 1997. My knees almost buckled. Derek was calm in a way that told me he had practiced this conversation in his head 1,000 times. He said he had been riding my subway line for 5 months. He wanted me to notice him before he approached. He did not want to frighten me. He wanted it to be my choice. I stood there on the platform while commuters poured around us like water around two stones. Derek reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded photograph. He held it out to me. It was a man standing beside a car in what looked like the late 80s. He had my jawline. He had Derek's eyes. I could not take it from him. I just stared at it in his hand. Two strangers on a platform, split down the middle of the same face. The next morning, Nolan went back to that platform, but this time, he was not alone. We sat in a diner 2 blocks from the station. Derek ordered coffee and did not touch it. He is 35. Same father, different mothers. He grew up in another state, raised by a single mom who told him his dad walked out when Derek was barely 2. His mother disappeared in 1996. No goodbye, no note, no forwarding address. 1 year later, my father supposedly died in a highway accident. Derek has spent 15 years trying to connect those two events. He tracked me through public records and old family contacts. I sat there listening to him, and I wanted to call him a liar. I wanted there to be one detail that did not fit, but everything fit. That night I called my mother. I kept it casual, asked about Dad the way I sometimes do around the anniversary. She gave me the same answer she has given me my entire life. Highway accident, 1997, closed casket. She scattered the ashes alone because she said she needed that moment to be private. Her voice was steady, perfectly steady. I hung up and immediately started searching. I found the obituary, 2 paragraphs in a local paper. But when I looked for the accident report, what I found was almost nothing. A single filed document with barely any detail. No witness statements, no investigating officer's narrative. It read like someone had filled in the minimum required fields and stopped. I called Logan and told him everything. The subway man, the knuckle habit, the photograph, all of it. Logan went quiet for a long time and then said, "Be careful." That was all. I lay in my condo that night staring at the ceiling. At some point, I looked down at my hands and realized I had been rubbing my thumb across my knuckles the entire time. Metro line lurker. The knuckle thing is what got me. That is not a coincidence. That is either genetic or learned behavior from the same person, and both options are equally unsettling. Quiet commuter. He was studying your routine for 6 weeks before you noticed him. That level of patience means he was terrified of getting this wrong, which somehow makes the whole thing sadder. Yeah, he told me that himself, said he almost gave up twice because he did not want to destroy my life if he was wrong. But he had my father's old photos from before I was born and said the resemblance was too strong to walk away from. Honestly, I am angry about a lot of things right now, but not at him. He lost his mother. I just lost the version of mine I thought I knew. Forensic rabbit hole. Monthly wire transfers since '97 are extremely traceable. If your mother used her real name on even one of those, cold case detectives will have a very productive afternoon. A few days later, Nolan came back with an update. My mother finally told me the truth about my father. Derek showed me bank transfer records. Our father is alive. He has been living under a different surname in another state for decades. My mother has wired him money every single month since 1997. Every month, for almost 30 years. I sat at Derek's kitchen table looking at printed statements with my mother's name on them and a routing number I had never seen, and I felt something settle in my chest, like concrete. Derek told me why he spent 15 years searching. His mother did not leave. She did not walk out. She vanished in 1996. No missing persons report was ever filed. No neighbor raised an alarm. She was simply gone one day, and no one asked where she went. Derek believes our father was involved in her disappearance, and that my mother helped him start over afterward. New name, new state, monthly payments to keep the whole thing sealed shut. I keep thinking about being 7 years old and crying on the anniversary of my father's death. My mother held me and told me he was a good man who loved me more than anything, and that he would have been so proud of me. She said that while knowing he was alive, while sending him money, while knowing what may have happened to Derek's mother. Every holiday, Every Father's Day card I made for a dead man. Every time she wiped my tears and said she wished he could see me now, she knew. The man who was supposed to be in the ground was cashing her checks. Derek was never the threat. Derek was a 35-year-old man looking for his mother. The person I should have been afraid of was the one who tucked me in at night. Deleted already, TM. Derek spent 15 years looking for his mother. That man is not a stalker. That is a grieving son who ran out of every other option and ended up on your train. This is not okay. Your mother has been wiring money to a man she told you was dead for almost 30 years. I have read that sentence 4 times and it still does not feel real. Forensic rabbit hole. That is because it is not supposed to be real. You are supposed to bury someone and move on, not fund their second life in another state while telling your son bedtime stories about how much daddy loved him. Every single holiday, every Father's Day, she let him grieve. All performance. Nolan went to his mother's house with the records in his hands. I put the transfer statements on her kitchen table and did not say a word. She looked at them and her whole body folded. She sat down on the floor like her strings had been cut. She told me my father is alive. She said she helped him relocate after Derek's mother had what she called an accident. She would not say more than that. Just that word, accident, and then silence. I stood in the kitchen I grew up in, the same tile under my feet, the same window above the sink, and I felt like I was standing in a stranger's house. I walked out. I have not spoken to her since. Derek filed everything with cold case investigators. The transfer records, the photograph, the thin accident report, all of it. He was calm when he told me. Practiced again, the way he was on the platform. I think being calm is how he survives. Derek and I talk sometimes. Not often. It is heavy and strange. We are half-brothers held together by someone else's violence, and neither of us knows how to build anything good on top of that. I still ride the subway every morning. I sit with my back to the wall now. I watch people's hands. I catch myself doing the knuckle thing, thumb across the knuckles, slow circle, and I have to stop myself. I used to think it was mine, something small and private that connected me to a father I never got to know. Now I do not know whose habit it is. I do not know if it belongs to a dead man or a living one, or a missing woman's son, or me. I just know I cannot do it anymore without feeling sick. Sunk Coast, Sarah. I ride the same line every morning, and now I am going to be staring at everyone's hands. Appreciate that. Half light, half gone. You did not lose your mother today. You lost the woman you thought she was, and that is a different kind of death entirely. Quiet commuter. Thank you for letting Derek file that report. A lot of people would have buried this to protect their family. You chose the truth over comfort, and that matters. On to the next one. My boyfriend, 26 male, has been helping me figure out who keeps breaking into my condo. I, 24 female, just found out he has a key. The post was 3 days old. The title alone should have been the answer. So I do not even know where to start. I am a 24-year-old woman, I work as a veterinary technician, and I live alone in a small condo. About 3 weeks ago, I started noticing things that were just slightly off when I came home from work. Nothing dramatic at first. A kitchen chair pulled out from the table, maybe 2 inches more than I leave it. My laptop open on the counter when I know I closed it before my shift. A damp towel draped over the shower rod that I never used. Each thing on its own, sure, maybe I am just tired, maybe I forgot. But it kept happening. My boyfriend, Spencer, he is 26, has been incredible through all of this. When I told him I thought someone was getting into my place, he did not dismiss me. He started staying over more. He actually changed my locks himself because I was too scared to wait for a locksmith appointment. He is handy like that. I have been sleeping at his apartment most nights now because my own condo makes my skin crawl. 2 nights ago, I finally went back to grab clean scrubs and feed my cat. I had not showered there in 2 days, had not even run the faucet. I walked into the bathroom and stopped. There was a streak through the condensation on the mirror, like someone had dragged a finger straight across the glass. My bathrobe was on the wrong hook, the left one, not the right where I always hang it. I stood in that doorway with my phone in my hand and my chest going so hard I could hear it in my ears. Nobody should have been in here. Spencer changed the locks. I have the only key. Or I thought I did. She thought she had the only key. Spencer did everything right. That was the problem. I called him, shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. Spencer was at my door in 15 minutes. He went through every room, checked every window latch, looked behind the shower curtain, got on his knees and checked under the bed. Then he just held me on the couch while I cried into his shirt. He was the one who said I should file a police report. He drove me to the station himself and sat in the waiting area the whole time. That is who Spencer has been through all of this. Methodical, steady. He started keeping a shared note on his phone, logging every incident with dates. He checked my door hinges for pry marks. He even offered to install a small camera in the hallway, but then said my building's HOA would probably shut it down before it recorded anything useful. I trusted him with all of it. I should mention Spencer lost his sister Emily about 8 months ago. She died in a fall. He was wrecked afterward, and I did everything I could to be there for him. Sometimes he gets quiet and says Emily would have liked me, and it breaks my heart every time. But the disturbances did not stop. My coffee mug moved from the left cabinet to the right. A window I know I locked was cracked open half an inch. I started confiding in my coworker Caleb at the clinic. He listened to everything carefully, and then he asked me something that caught me off guard. He asked if Spencer ever goes into my condo when I am not there. I almost laughed. I said, no, Spencer only comes over when I am home. Why would he go there alone? Caleb just nodded and changed the subject, but he had this look on his face I could not read. I let it go. Honestly, the only time I feel safe anymore is when Spencer is next to me. He stays over almost every night now, and I sleep with my hand on his arm, like if I hold on tight enough, nothing bad can get in. She was holding on to the one person she should have been running from. Caleb was not done asking questions. He caught me on my break yesterday in the parking lot behind the clinic. He had his phone out, and his face was the kind of serious I have never seen on him before. He said he needed to show me something, and that I should not react until I had read the whole thing. It was a county court filing. My full legal name was on it. Spencer had submitted a written statement to police claiming I was involved in the death of his sister Emily. I read it standing there next to the dumpsters with my scrub sleeves pushed up, and my hands went completely numb. The statement said I had motive because Emily had supposedly found out I was stealing prescription medication from the clinic. I have never stolen a single thing in my life. My records are spotless. I loved Emily. I was the one who drove Spencer to her memorial because he could not stop shaking. And this whole time he has been filing paperwork behind my back, saying I had something to do with her death, while sleeping in my bed and holding me through panic attacks about someone breaking into my condo. Caleb told me not to confront Spencer. He said a friend of his works at the courthouse and recognized my name on the filing, and that I needed to be smart about this. I sat in my car for 40 minutes after that. I could not drive. I just kept thinking about Spencer checking my window latches, Spencer logging every incident in his phone, Spencer changing my locks. Spencer changing my locks. He changed the locks and he gave me the keys. How many copies did he make before he handed them over? Red flag collector, please tell me you have a lawyer. If he filed a statement implicating you in a death, you need representation yesterday, not next week. Voidwalker Kim, whoever changed the locks has the only copy of the new key. Think about that for a second. He volunteered to change them. He controlled every key that was cut. Doomscroll Dad, did Spencer ever have unsupervised access to the old key long enough to copy it? Because that timeline matters. He had my old key for an entire weekend. I gave it to him because he said he needed to test the new deadbolt against the old one to make sure the frame fit. I did not think twice about it. He gave it back on Monday. Every lock he touched was a door he kept open for himself. A few days later, Sophie came back with an update. Spencer was arrested, and I found Emily's voicemail. First, thank you to everyone who told me to check for building cameras. Caleb took that and ran with it. He contacted my building's management directly and found out there is a loading dock camera that covers a side entrance Spencer apparently did not know about. Management pulled the footage. Spencer is on camera, entering my unit 6 separate times using a key he obviously copied before giving me back the original. On 2 of those visits, he was carrying a small duffel bag. Caleb and I brought everything to a detective who, it turns out, was already reviewing the circumstances around Emily's death. That is when the real picture came together. Spencer had taken out a life insurance policy on Emily 7 months before she died. He had been telling investigators that I had motive for Emily's death because she supposedly caught me stealing prescription medication from the vet clinic. There is zero evidence of that because it never happened. He made it up. Every single break-in was staged. The chair, the laptop, the towel, the mirror, the bathrobe, all of it. He was building a case that I was unstable, paranoid, falling apart, so that if I ever contradicted his version of what happened to Emily, no one would believe me. He was not protecting me from a threat. He was the threat, and he was standing right next to me the entire time, performing the role of the person keeping me safe. Quiet rage. I am stuck on the mirror. He stood in your bathroom long enough for the steam to form and then traced his finger through it. That is not just trespassing. That is savoring it. Not your darling. The fact that he changed your locks for you and kept a copy is such a calculated move. He literally made himself the only other person with access, and you thanked him for it. Red flag collector. And every time she reported something moved, he was right there being the supportive boyfriend, asking if she wanted to call the police. He was daring the system to catch him while playing the concerned partner. Textbook. Doom scroll dad. The duffel bag detail makes my skin crawl. What was he planting in your unit on those visits? You need a forensic sweep of every drawer, closet, and vent. My lawyer has already arranged one. So far, they found printouts of controlled substance logs from the clinic tucked behind my filing cabinet. Documents I have never seen before and definitely did not bring home. Spencer volunteered at the clinic's fundraiser last fall and had been in the back offices. I think he took photos of the logs then and printed copies to make it look like I had been tracking inventory to steal from it. Emily tried to reach her. Once. Spencer was arrested and charged with Emily's death and evidence tampering. The life insurance policy he took out on her 7 months before she fell is frozen. My name has been fully cleared. The clinic ran an internal audit at my request and confirmed that nothing has ever been missing from inventory, not a single pill. But here is the part that I cannot get past. During the investigation, the detective told me that Emily had called me 2 weeks before she died. I already knew that. I remembered the missed call. I remembered listening to the voicemail and hearing Emily's voice all over the place, kind of rambling, hard to follow. At the time, Spencer had told me his sister was going through a rough patch, drinking too much, acting erratic. So when I heard the message, I figured she was drunk, and I never called her back. I still have that voicemail saved on my phone. After everything came out, I made myself listen to it one more time. She did not sound drunk. She sounded scared. I am not going to say what she said, because it is part of the investigation now, but she was trying to tell me something about Spencer, and I did not pick up the phone. I moved out of the condo. I am staying somewhere Spencer does not know about. I am seeing a therapist. Caleb checks in on me every day at work, and I do not think I would have made it through this without him. I am okay. Mostly. Some nights I open my phone and hover over that voicemail, and I cannot press play. I just stare at the timestamp and think about Emily trying to reach me while there was still time. Insomnia pilot. Emily tried to warn you. He made sure you would not listen. That is the part of this story I cannot shake. Red flag collector. Please make sure your lawyer and the detective both have copies of that voicemail. Do not rely on your phone being the only place it exists. The detective has had a copy since the first week of the investigation. My lawyer has one too. It is backed up in 3 places. I am not letting that disappear. Sometimes the person holding you together is the one making sure you fall apart. Thanks for listening. And if you enjoyed this, consider subscribing so you do not miss the next one.